Russian authorities for their alleged failure to protect journalists. What's the latest from the Kremlin?
Yes, as you said there, Russia already putting the blame onto Kiev and trying to deflect eyes away from Russia. In fact, the Russia UN envoy said yesterday that he already expects Kiev to blame Russia. So already a lot of political game playing going on here. He said that crimes against journalists are not duly investigated in Ukraine, and said many journalists were forced to flee due to persecution. Well, of course, that's just from the Russian side. In turn, Ukraine have said that it's too early to speak about who could be behind the murder, but they have claimed that Ukraine have solid grounds to accuse Russia of employing various destabilizing tactics in Ukraine, including subversive actions and assassinations. We've also heard from the Ukraine Prime Minister, who has described Mr. Babchenko as a true friend of Ukraine, who was telling the world about Russian aggression. So no doubt the fallout from this will continue as both sides want to establish investigations as quickly as possible.
And Jessica, I was just reading his post in the UK newspaper The Guardian, and of course he was a well-known critic of the Kremlin. What more can you tell us about Arkady Babchenko?
Yes, well, Arkady was often denounced by pro-Putin politicians, and some even here in Russia called for him to be stripped of his Russian citizenships because of some of the views that he held. He denounced Russia's actions in Syria and Ukraine. He often felt that Russia was the aggressor, and this was after serving in the military. He was in the first separatist war in Chechnya in the 1990s, and that, I think, is where a lot of his opinions on Russia and on war were formed. And it was after writing about a crashed military plane in 2016 that he really felt that his life was in danger. He felt he was in danger. He felt he could perhaps be sent to prison for some of his views, and that is when he decided to leave his home country, to leave Russia. He moved to Prague and then later to Ukraine, where he has been working as a journalist. Well, the Kiev police chief has said he suspects that Mr. Babchenko was killed because of his professional activities, therefore alluding to his journalism, to his views. Kiev has in recent years seen a number of high-profile politicians and journalists attacked, and most of them were critics of the Kremlin, like Mr. Babchenko.
Jessica, thank you so much for that update. That was Jessica King for us in Moscow.